All right. What is going on, YouTube? It's, as always, I'm your host with the most, G-Man here, on the first episode of the Angry End podcast. Sadly, I am not joined by anyone today, so this is going to be a solo broadcast, which kind of breaks my heart and is slightly annoying because you'd think that if you told 5 people to be at one place at one time and just be available for 1 hour that they could do it, but sadly no. Stupid is as stupid does, sir. Forrest Gump, forever telling the truth. Alright, hopping into our first topic of the day here, I think it would be fit to talk about the election and the potentially looming Trump presidency, which fills Americans with brains with fear. Forever terrified of those who should not be able to lead. Donald Trump has somehow managed to take the election by storm and ultimately be the number one candidate for the Republican Party. You know, it honestly boggles my mind how it has come to this. I don't understand how Americans all of a sudden, listened to what he said and liked what they were hearing. You know, all Trump puts on this air of sophistication, basically going under the guise oh, I'm a accomplished and responsible businessman, and clearly I know what I'm doing because I've run several of my own corporations into the ground and gone bankrupt 5 times, but because the average American isn't actually going to do any research in their candidate, they're only going to listen to the BS that he spews out of his mouth, they don't know that he is actually not as great a businessman as they think. I honestly am astonished that people in this country think that it is okay to act like this. He is not articulate, he's disrespectful, he's racist, and he hasn't actually proposed any real plan that will solve any of this country's problems. Come on, his most infamous policy, the stinking wall that he plans to put up, he hasn't even set a plan for it. The only thing that he said is that he's going to keep out these terrible people who are apparently a detriment to this country, and he doesn't even know how he's going to build the wall. He just tells us that, oh, I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. Well, how? The only reason, reasoning behind his logic is said, oh, we're going to build it by doing it. Well, thanks, Donald. Of course you do something by doing it, but what's your plan? What's your plan for anything? You have none. He's honestly just a hype machine that walks around spewing garbage out of his mouth like he's frickin' Oscar the Grouch. I don't understand how we've been, hoodwinked this badly. You know, I never even voted for him. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how it's possible for a man like this to be at the forefront of a party. I honestly think it reflects more poorly upon the GOP than anything else. The fact that they are even in this situation in the first place is absolutely absurd. You know, they never flat out condoned the deplorable things that some of their party members were doing, such as being supported by the KKK or being racist. Well, I guess those two are one and the same. Or actively trying to remove their evangelical fan base. Because honestly, at this point, the fact that Christianity is still a major part of the party, or a part of party policy, is absolutely absurd. You know, there's a separation of church and state in this country, and the fact that those lines get blurred somehow when talking about a particular party is absurd to me. By incorporating any evangelical policy into our government, we are no better than those that we dislike. We don't like Sharia law. In fact, as of right now, there's a rampant Islamophobia in this country. Yet, we are no better than those who implement Sharia law if we follow the code of the Bible. What's the difference? They're both rules from a book that have absolutely no context to the lives that we are leading now. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, and at this point, this election is just a whole bunch of pick your poison. Trump is the forerunner, and he is an awful man. Ted Cruz is no better. Ted Cruz is evangelical. But here's my thing with Ted Cruz. I really don't like Ted Cruz, but I can't deny the fact that he's intelligent. Ted Cruz has argued before the Supreme Court 3 or 4 times. You don't get to do that unless you're intelligent. That just doesn't happen. So, I don't doubt that he's smart, but he's evangelical. He's disliked even more than Donald Trump by the GOP. And honestly, they've screwed themselves in the situation where it's either Trump or Cruz. Because as it stands right now, Kasich doesn't have enough delegates to force it to a brokered convention. And Ted Cruz isn't just going to be... He's not going to be able to rally enough votes to get the nomination away from Trump. And even then, I'm not sure I would actually want Ted Cruz. I think I'm actually more scared of Ted Cruz as the Republican nominee than Donald Trump. Because here's the thing. Ted Cruz actually has some political experience and knows how to somewhat implement policies. I'm not too familiar with his past history, but Ted Cruz really just I'm not hyped about him. Donald won't be able to actually do anything, and I don't think it will be as bad as everyone seems, simply because right now Congress is majority Republican. The Republican Party has control of the House, and they have control of the Senate. So, if the inner GOP is actually in control of their party and capable of swaying opinion and discourse and legislation in the way that they want, Trump won't actually be able to implement anything because they'll block everything that he tries to put through. And of course, there's executive action and things that they can't stop. But at the same time, there's no way that he'll be able to take control. Ted Cruz, however, might actually, he could actually implement some of those horrible things. I'm not articulating this well, but I'd be more worried about Ted Cruz than Donald Trump. Kasich is pretty much out of the race at this point, and he's only running to kind of be a two-timer and a backstabber by stealing away delegates from Trump or Cruz. I mean, as much as I don't like them, I think the will of the American people is more important. If the American populace decided that they wanted Donald Trump to be their nominee, then that's just how it is, unfortunately. But I don't think that the way our governmental system is set up should be disturbed and changed because the GOP screwed up. They're going to have to live with their mistake. As much as they're trying to reverse it and change it, they just have to live with it. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Can't go back in time now. But honestly, the average American voter is an idiot. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I mean, most people don't do their research. They'll watch the debate and get a few snippets of what a candidate's actual policy will be, and then they'll make a decision based on that, which honestly isn't enough education at all in order to make a smart decision about who should actually be running this country. And I'm not in that position either. I mean, I'm educated on these candidates simply because it's at the forefront of discussion in my everyday life. You know, it comes up in the news, it comes up at school. People are talking about it. You know, Trump has run a campaign unlike any that has been seen before. So, I guess it makes sense that it's newsworthy. And don't even get me started about the Democratic side. I honestly cannot stand Hillary Clinton for the life of me. Hillary Clinton, I would rather have Ted Cruz or Donald Trump as president than have Hillary Clinton. Yes, we should have a female president. Yes, there should be a woman in charge, if she's the right woman for the job. Should be the right woman, not the right woman should be voted in, not just Hillary Clinton because she's the only woman running. And Bernie Sanders is done. Doesn't have enough delegates. Hillary swept the South in terms of everything, so honestly, I think Bernie Sanders is done. The I want free college and high taxes train has come to a halt. But I think that's it for Bernie. Moving on. I'm going to segue into movie talk because I have seen some okay movies as of late. You know, I think the most recent one that I was really impressed with was Spotlight. I thought it was definitely worthy of its Oscar win for Best Motion Picture of the Year. I think it was absolutely deserved. I think that was one of the only movies where I finished it and went, holy crap, that was an amazing movie, and had to take a moment to kind of think through what happened and really just absorb what happened in the movie, and that hasn't happened for a long time. I think the only other movie where that really happened for me would be Inception, and Inception is probably my favorite movie of all time. I enjoy movies that kind of make you think about either a concept or things that happened in a different way. Just the sheer impact of what happened in Boston and all what happened with all those priests in the scandal was huge. I was too young at the time to really understand the full scope and just how serious it was. But looking back at it now, it kind of just makes you go, oh my God. How something happened for that long and was just covered up. It was almost as if it disappeared, you know? And then another thing that really impacted me was the note at the end where it discussed how many cities were affected and had similar scandals. It was all over the world, you know? Not just in Boston, but all over the world. New York, down in Florida, Milwaukee, Seattle, California, France, Italy, Spain, Japan, wherever it was. You know, the Catholic Church was just shuffling these guys around like they were playing cards, trying to avoid controversy. So, I honestly think it was a huge failure at not only the macro level, and that more people didn't figure this out quickly, or that the police failed to identify it, or whatever it was. But it's still crazy to me that there are these huge scandals that aren't uncovered for years. I mean, the original child pornography scandal that is talked about in Spotlight took place in the 80s, and the story wasn't released till the early to mid 2000s. That's crazy, man. How can something so horrible and so terrible be covered up for so long? Why does a church, an entity that spews nothing but, like, the church has no real place in society other than to provide people with false hope? And while I do think religion is a good thing to teach people morals and proper ethics and how to interact in a community, religion also clouds the mind of the average person. It fills their head with nonsense. Creationism is a terrible thing. Creationism, I don't even know how that's a thing. How? How are people creationists? I don't understand. Like, do you just all of a sudden believe that all this scientific data is just like, no, it's a conspiracy, man? Like, I just don't understand. Like, you gotta put on your tinfoil hat and tighten it really hard so those government rays don't infect your brain and spew all those scientific lies. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I just don't. Religion is good and bad, but I don't think it has a place in the 21st century. Look at the Middle East. That place is a mess. You know why it's a mess? They're fighting over religion. Sunni and Shia are slaughtering each other. For why? For what? What reason? They're both Muslims, except one views something slightly differently. So, you have to kill them, apparently. I don't. We've come so far. I don't get it. Why are we going backwards? You know, I thought people stopped killing each other over religion hundreds of years ago. It just doesn't make sense to me. I guess not even 100 years ago, because Hitler killed 6.5 million Jews because they were Jewish. So, I guess it wasn't all too recently that we stopped killing each other because of religion. So, I guess I kind of digressed off of movie talk. Spotlight was good. I still haven't seen The Revenant. And even though Leo DiCaprio won Best Actor for that movie, I've heard that it actually wasn't as good as it was hyped to be. I was told by several people to actually read the book instead, and that I would actually enjoy the book more. And I honestly think that's a good route to go. Usually I prefer to read the book before I watch the movie, like with Lord of the Rings or when I was younger, Harry Potter or whatever it may be. And often the book is always better than the movie, no matter how hard a filmmaker tries. You just won't be able to fit everything that's in a book into a movie. It's just the unfortunate reality. So let's see, what other movies I haven't seen The Revenant yet. The Martian was good. I really enjoyed The Martian. I've read the book for that, and I thought it was actually pretty dang close. But I heard what the deal with The Revenant was, is that if you didn't read the book, you would have difficulty understanding the plot. And I know what it's based off of. It's based off of kind of the frontiersman who was traveling out in Oregon and fought a bear, and his buddies left him for dead. But at the same time, there are still confusing little pedantics that would supposedly skew my view of the plot, so I'll leave them as is. What other movies? You know, it kind of sucks because when I'm here at school, like, it's kind of difficult for me to go and see movies because I'm busy all the time, whereas when I'm at home, I've got all the free time in the world. So, it's slightly difficult. Oh. I guess I could talk about TV shows that I'm watching. I'm currently watching Dexter. I'm on the last episode of the first season. I've heard that it's pretty good for the first 7 seasons or so, but after that it kind of deteriorates. So I'll try and watch to that point and see how it goes. If it's really that bad afterwards, I might stop watching it, but I'll just try and get to the seasons that I have to go. I was watching The Walking Dead and been keeping up with that, but as of recently, I haven't seen like the past 5 episodes or so, which I really should be because um, I watched the first episode after the mid-season finale, and then I haven't watched since. So I think I should catch up with that. And honestly, I'm really impressed. The first couple of seasons were good, and then kind of 3 and 4 kind of strayed away from the path that they were going down with that series. But seasons 5 and 6 have really been fantastic, and I should keep up with them. I need to start watching Better Call Saul. Um, I really enjoyed Breaking Bad, and obviously Better Call Saul is not exactly a prequel, but it's within the same universe, and it would explain a lot of things that happened, I guess. But I look forward to that. Game of Thrones hasn't started up yet. Maybe I should start watching House of Cards. My parents really enjoy it, and a lot of people around me love House of Cards, but I've never actually watched an episode. So that's potentially something for me to start. What else? What else? What other TV shows have I been watching? Not many. Like I said, I've been pretty busy with schoolwork. Let's see. I had an article that I wanted to look at. Oh yeah. There is an American student who is detained in North Korea, I'm sure as many of you know. And he has... Oh, sorry, that's a video that should not be playing. He admitted to committing acts of espionage for South Korea. Currently, I have no idea what's going to happen to him. I mean, North Korea is one of those backwards countries on the face of the planet where, communism and dictatorship rules supreme. And, I honestly have no idea what Kim Jong-un's going to do to this kid. Not only was he spying, but he's an American. Didn't matter who he was spying for. The pure fact that he's an American citizen is already a trigger point. Kim Jong-un will use this as fuel for the fire to try and either lift the sanctions, which I don't think will ever happen. I think the United States government would rather give up that kid than lift the sanctions on North Korea. Or he'll just use it as kind of a way for him to try and further his nuclear program, however that may be. It definitely increases an already tense... It already increases the tension in an already tense situation. So, I think, I'm honestly concerned for this kid's life. He's stuck. He's really stuck. He done messed up. I don't even know how, but, there are no laws protecting him there. The United States, we got rid of torture. Why? I don't know. Thought it was a pretty accurate way of getting information out of people we don't like. The whole reason that they were forced to suffer to give up information is because they were terrorists. They were terrible people. So I have no sympathy for people like that. I have no sympathy for people who would take other innocent people's lives. None. Not at all. So, I fear for this kid, man. Especially with North Korea already testing long-range missiles and such. I think this situation is going to get a whole lot more tense. And potentially be very bad for all parties involved. Alright, everything... Oh yeah, the terrorist attack in Belgium. So if you don't know, there is a terrorist attack in a Belgian train station. 31 people died. And over 100 people were injured. So, yeah, I guess it's another instance of ISIS slowly creeping in to what we considered to be a safe place, after the attacks in Paris in the fall and now Brussels. ISIS has basically determined that Europe is the new battleground. It's a place where, they're already feeling pressure at home. The United States State Office has officially declared that what ISIS is doing to Christians and minority Muslim groups and other minority religions in the region is genocide. So they're already going to start upping the ante and putting pressure on ISIS in Syria and Iraq. So I guess they're lashing out. They already struck out in Paris, and I guess they're lashing out again. But I guess it scares me that there's more to come. There's already the Syrian refugee crisis. There are several thousand, I think almost hundreds of thousands of people who have been displaced and looking for a home. And I think that's why people are nervous. All these people are being displaced, and ISIS is putting pressure on the borders of all these countries, especially honestly, European countries are scared to open their borders and help these people because of the terrorist attacks that ISIS or Daesh has conducted. They're bad news. I don't understand why we didn't up the ante in the first place. But the problem with Daesh is that it's an ideology. You can't really kill the ideology. Even if we wipe out every single member of Daesh, as long as there is someone who believes in the ideology, there will be Daesh. No matter what. As unfortunate as it is, it's the nature of conducting warfare against an ideology. How do you stop global terrorism? Well, you can't really. You can't stop all terrorist attacks before they happen. Obviously there are contingency plans, and the military and the CIA and the FBI work very hard to ensure the safety of U.S. citizens. Same with the police. However, it's impossible to see everything that's coming. You just can't. You can't see the future. So, I think it'll be incredibly difficult to stop this growing problem. I think just the Middle East in itself is problematic. President Obama really doesn't like Israel, when in reality, Israel is our closest ally in the region. We'd like to think that Saudi Arabia is an ally, but in reality, they're the country that has the strictest Sharia law system in the world. They're still beheading people. In the 20th century, there is a country, 21st century, there is a country that is beheading people because of religion. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. That's ridiculous. But they've got the oil, right? They've got the magic fuel that makes this planet spin. Or actually, to be more accurate, it makes the economy spin. So, that's how it goes. But honestly, I don't understand why Obama is not trying to work with Israel more. Because honestly, Israel is going to be the first target. That idiotic nuclear plan with Iran that lifted all the sanctions, that basically guaranteed that those psychos are going to get a nuke, whether it be in 10 years and 20 years or 30 years or however long it takes, but they'll get it eventually. The first thing they're going to do when they get that warhead is aim it straight at Tel Aviv and launch it. And Obama he's in Cuba right now. You know, he's smoking cigars, living the high life. Like, oh man, Raul Castro, what's up, buddy? Like, because those guys are saints. Failure on all levels from the U.S. State Department. Besides saying that ISIS is committing genocide. Like, should never have made a deal with Iran. Ever. Should be aligning ourselves with Israel. And guaranteeing that we have at least one level-headed country in that region. Egypt is a mess. We displaced Gaddafi. Libya's a mess. Jordan is taking on refugees. Saudi Arabia doesn't even care. Saudi Arabia, you know, what struck me about this refugee problem is that, you know, after the Hajj, you know, Saudi Arabia has all these living quarters, you know, all these places for people who are there for the pilgrimage to stay. Why don't they use those, you know? While the Hajj isn't going on, and say, hey, you know, like, why don't all you refugees come stay here? We'll house you. We're all Muslim. Like, we like the same things. We'll take you in. Nope, didn't happen. Not even a shred of support from any of the Middle Eastern countries. None. Instead, we're too busy screwing around. This boggles my mind. I also don't understand why the U.S. government doesn't try to ally itself more closely with India. India is the ultimate counter to China. With a similar population size and a similar ideology towards places like Pakistan and other countries. I just don't get it. Why don't we ally ourselves with India? You know? India is the ultimate counter to China. They have one of the world's largest growing economies. They're the counter to China. Same population size. But the problem is, if we ally ourselves with India, that escalates things around Pakistan and India's conflict, particularly Kashmir. We pretty much know that they have nuclear warheads, and if we ally ourselves with India, unfortunately, that could potentially start a nuclear war. So, it's not an ideal situation, but I think India is a good ally for us to have. And honestly, at this point, I really hate the Pakistani government in particular. They sponsor terrorism. You know, any state that sponsors terrorism in my boat we don't have any business trying to ally ourselves with them. You know? What's the point? They're just going to turn on us. So, sanction Pakistan, ally ourselves with Israel and India, and sanction Iran again. Because honestly, we have no business dealing with them. God, practically this whole episode has been me ranting about politics, whether it be the election or our foreign policy. What else could I talk about? I could talk about esports, I guess. This weekend is not only relegations for the LCS, but also the COD World League. Currently, I think 2 series have been played. I think Splice has maintained their spot in LCS, and so have, actually no, I think Roccat and not Giants, Huma are in series right now. So hopefully, good luck to both of them. Be interesting to see who stays in LCS or who qualifies. In the COD World League, I think it's Dream Team, Team Caliber, I don't want to say CLG or H2K, but I think they're at the bottom of the league too. I think actually, no, Roccat just won. So Huma lost. Not too much to talk about, but I'm glad that esports is growing in general. You know, years ago, you'd be lucky to maybe get 10,000 viewers, but now, I mean, LCS pulls in 250 concurrent viewers on just Twitch alone. And, I mean, the COD World League has definitely improved, pulling in around 25 to 30k viewers per stream. And obviously, you won't get as many viewers as if you were streaming a LAN, but that's just the way it goes. I'm actually really disappointed that there aren't more LANs for Call of Duty this year. That's ridiculous. There's only one major LAN, and it's just COD Champs. Pros want events. They don't want to play online the whole time. All the good LANs are over in Europe, whether it be Gfinity or the Esports World Cup. But at the same time, there should be more LANs. And I get it. LANs are expensive to put on, and they're hard to really produce and do well. But at the same time, it's been made clear that that's what the pros want. They want LANs. That's what the fans want too. They want more LANs. Stop beating around the bush and just give it to them. You don't have to make 20 LANs per year or give people 20 LANs per year. But you could at least increase the number. 4 LAN tournaments in 1 year is just absurd. You know, false promises were made by Activision and ESL. And it's just sad. You know, several esports are miles ahead. League is the most advanced esport in the world. Their system works, and there are enough international, there could be more international tournaments in League, gonna be honest. I'd love to see more Korean teams at events. But that's just the way things go. You know, we don't exactly always get what we want. This is unfortunate. So, let's see, how long have I been recording? Going for around 38 minutes? Alright, since I had no help this episode and it was a solo broadcast, I think I'm going to call it a show here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. And I will see you on the next episode. Hopefully, I'll have more hosts with me this time. But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, take care.